Okay, listen. Not that I had an entirely bad week, but I was just, I'll be honest with you, craving buying new books. And instead of going to the library, I convinced my sweet, wonderful boyfriend to go to Goodwill and Savers with me. I did not need any of these books. I do not want to constantly be doing book hauls. I really am going to try and be stricter with myself moving forward. I'm going to try and not buy any books. But the whole book buying ban, like to say it and like live up to it are two very different things because I'm really good at failing those. I have a ton of books here that I want to show you today, so we're doing another book haul. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. If you like book hauls, if you like reading, thrifting, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and let me know in the comments below your best thrift find recently. Let's hop in. All of these except for 3 are from a Goodwill or a Savers, and the 3 that I got from Half Price Books were actually all 3 in the clearance section for $3. And because Savers books can range between like 99 cents to 6-ish 99, I kind of didn't include them in my thing. I did say in my New Year's resolution that I don't have a limit on thrifted books. I can't just be buying everything that I want. So the first book I have here is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is a children's fiction book about a little secret world that our main character finds. I know when I was a little kid I had a copy of The Secret Garden. Who knows where it went, truly. But I do think that as an adult I want to read it, just see how it is. If it's good, if it's not. I also know that my mom really likes The Secret Garden, so if I don't like this, I'm sure I could give it to her. Next is Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. I know that some people read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn in high school or in like middle school, whatever they study it in class. I did not. So this is supposed to be a sequel to Tom Sawyer, and it's about a journey that Huck and Jim go on in the Mississippi Valley. That's what it says on the back of the book. That's all I'm kind of gleaning from it. The biggest thing about this cover, though, is them toes. Put your dogs away. Next is Alexandro Mazzani's The Betrothed. This book is beat up, and it used to be a library book because it's got one of those stickers on there. I know that I say I look at Black Classics and I make sure that I'm interested in them first. I think I saw Spanish occupation in... I gotta rip this off to see the... Spanish occupation in the 1620s, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds great, actually, in fact. Oh yeah, it's about 2 young lovers. Yeah, I know I'm gonna like that. So other than this book is beat up, but that's okay. That's okay. We still like her. Next is The Voyage Out by Virginia Woolf. I've kind of just been picking up Virginia Woolf novels when I see them in thrift stores. I've not seen one in a Barnes & Noble Classic sort of thing like this. This was Virginia Woolf's first novel, and it was written, and it says cutting insights about politics, literature, gender, and modern relationships. So I think this one will be interesting. I've been wanting to read more of Virginia Woolf. I did read A Room of One's Own. That one didn't really, catch me, but that's what happens when you have a speech that you then try to elongate into like a novella. Like I'm sure I would have loved it if it was just a speech. Like if it was just like a little essay that I could read. Next is The Federalist, a commentary on the Constitution of the United States. Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison. This is the Federalist Papers. And technically I do have most of the Federalist Papers in my like Constitution of the United States little like bind up thing. I'm sure you saw that on another book haul. This one is these are a lot longer, plus they're bigger and they have like commentary and this sort of stuff. I just thought, why not have the Federalist Papers and read the defense of the United States Constitution? Because it would be nice if more people defended the Constitution right now. How to Read Literature Like a Professor, a lively and entertaining guide to reading between the lines by Thomas C. Foster. This book, I really don't know much of what it's about, but I saw this kind of highlighted at a Half Price Books a couple months ago, and I saw it and I was like, oh, this might be something that be interested in with wanting to take more college level English classes. On the back it says, what does it mean when a fictional hero takes a journey, shares a meal, gets drenched in a sudden rain shower? Often there is much more going on in a novel or poem than is readily visible on the surface, a symbol maybe that remains elusive or an unexpected twist on a character. And we'll see how it juxtaposes with how to read a book, which I do also have. And I think that like kind of comparing the two will be interesting. Next is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I see these at almost every thrift store, and I know that this is a banned book, and it kind of came out of the, Fault in Our Stars timeline of literature where someone's dying of some sort of thing. It's about a guy who befriends a girl who's dying, and I know that this is a banned book in some places. The biggest thing for me was that I always saw the movie cover, and I knew that I wanted this particular cover, and I finally found it. So I am interested to read this. I really like young adult literature, especially with wanting to, teach high schoolers. Having a good breadth of knowledge of high school lit, young adult literature, I do think is important. And just for like my own personal library, I think that when it comes to having a personal library, I think that people have to have certain goals. Not that they don't have to, but you're drawn to certain things, and every library is different. If every library has the same books, then why even have it? You know what I mean? I've realized that my goals when it comes to in at-home libraries, I want a lot of classics, which is why I've been, collecting Black Penguin classics. I do want political commentary novels, things that, I do read, maybe not as often as I want to. I want young adult, and I want a lot of literary fiction, which I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of right now. We'll see how things ebb and flow as I grow and change as a human being. But right now, when I find a young adult novel that sounds interesting to me or is in particular banned, I do want to keep it. Next is Midnight in Washington, How We Almost Lost Our Democracy and Still Could by Adam Schiff. This is about the resurgence of autocracy and the threat it poses to the United States. This is, a political commentary novel. It is a thick boy. I have seen this around a little bit, but I don't know much entirely about it, but I do think that it will be interesting. It's just so hard. We live in such unprecedented times, and people have been sounding the alarm for a long time. And then next is a book that I have actually read. This is I Alone Can Fix It, Donald J. Trump's Catastrophic Final Year by Carol Leonnig and Philip Rucker. This was an amazing book that I read either in 2021 or 2022, and it talks particularly about, obviously, Donald Trump's final year in office, and I learned a ton from reading this book about how so many things led up to him not being reelected in 2020 and why his ratings were so low that he was not reelected. So it talks about the killing of George Floyd, it talks about the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of reasonings behind some of the things that he did. I thought that it was very, very good. I do think rereading it maybe sometime in my life would be good. I also think I recommend this book to a lot of people when they're like, I don't understand what the heck 2020 was, and I recommend this book to them. Next is America Afire by Bernard A. Weisberger, Jefferson Adams in the First Contested Election. So this is the story of the election of 1800, arguably the most important election in America's history and certainly one of the most hotly disputed. So one thing that was really interesting about the musical Hamilton for me was when Burr and Jefferson were going head to head for the presidency. And everyone was telling, Hamilton, like, we need your opinion, this is the most important election ever. And it made me think, like, have we always been so scared around elections? Have we always, felt like this election could be our last? And of course, we all know what's going on now. But I think that, just learning a bit more about things going on around the election of 1800, I think would be really interesting. So, got that one. Next is Norse Myths. I know that this has a half-price book sticker on it, but I did get this at a Goodwill. I recently picked up a copy of Chinese Myths that is in this exact format, and the editor, Jake Jackson, is the same. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I can have two of the same sort of little thing. This is, you know, is what it is, Norse myths. And I don't know too much about Norse mythology. I've read a few books on it, but I feel like Norse mythology, while it kind of like ebbs and flows in its popularity, it still doesn't have like the stronghold that like especially Greek mythology kind of has on the general public, even though it is still very interesting. So got that one. And then I got Alone by Megan E. Freeman. This is a novel in verse. This was another one that I found when I was searching up like young adult novels in verse for extemporaneous reading poetry. I did not anticipate finding one at a Savers. This is about a girl who wakes up after a sleepover and she is utterly alone, left behind in a town that has been mysteriously evacuated and abandoned. So kind of like Hatchet for Girls is kind of what I'm getting out of this. So I wanted to read it, see how it was. Could this one be, you know, the next extemporaneous reading poetry book? Let's find out. The last two in this pile right here are the Norton Anthology of American Literature from 1820 to 1865 and 1865 to 1914. I don't know why I felt like I needed these. I feel like they will come in handy at some point. They just have different North American stories in them. So we have some from W.E.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells Barnett, Edith Wharton, Charlotte Perkins Gilman. We got the yellow wallpaper in here. Love the yellow wallpaper. Oh, and then we also got Why I Wrote the Yellow Wallpaper. Hell yeah, let's go. I just thought that, I don't know, it might be weird that I have these, but also these are probably pretty expensive buying them firsthand, or even probably from like half-price books or anything like that. These were clearly somebody's textbooks. And now they're mine. All right, now we got a whole thing over here. So I have The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Isn't this edition so cute? I was supposed to read the Scarlet Letter in high school, and I didn't. Did anyone else just like not read the books they were supposed to sometimes? I don't know why. The book like really bored me when I was in high school, but I do think as an adult, since I have come into my feminism and all this sort of stuff, I think it will be very interesting to read this book. Then I have Maria Edgeworth Belinda. I have no idea what this book is about. I just saw it was an Oxford classic and I was like, you're coming home with me. It talks about gender and race issues. It says that it's comedic and thought-provoking. I feel like I've been picking up a lot of female writers that talk about gender and race, so I feel like I need to get on reading these books. Next is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabrielle Garcia Marquez. She is also the author of Love in the Time of Cholera, and I really don't know what this book is about. I just know that it's kind of considered like a really good classic of some sorts. So I figured, why not get it? I think I can check out the audiobook from the library, but something about it I was just like, But also the cover is really, really cool. Next is Tim O'Brien's If I Die in a Combat Zone, Box Me Up and Ship Me Home. I have not read The Things They Carried, so this is more of a non-fiction account of Tim O'Brien's year as a foot soldier in Vietnam. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune actually blurbed this on the back. One of the best, most disturbing, most powerful books about the shame that was/is Vietnam. So I have the things they carried. I'm going to read it. But that is a work of fiction. But then this is a memoir. Next is The Power and the Glory by Graham Greene. This is like a dystopian sort of thing. It says, in a poor remote section of southern Mexico, the red shirts have taken control. I'm wondering if that might be a gang. And God has been outlawed and the priests have been systematically hunted down and killed. It's about Christian prosecution. I found this in the religious section. I thought it might be really interesting. I have been reading the Bible. I'm really interested in religious theology, just like baseline. It's not like particularly about Christianity, and Penguin Black Classic, so maybe it'll be good. I don't know. We'll see. Next is You Lost Me, Why Young Christians Are Leaving Church and Rethinking Faith by David Kinnaman. I actually have had this on an Amazon list for a long time, and I never purchase books on Amazon, or at least I try not to, but as you can see, I don't really need to. I can find everything I need at Goodwill and Savers. And it talks about how people are leaving the church in droves and why. And I think it was like a YouTuber or someone talked about this book, which is why it was on that list. And I like saw it and I was like, why do I know that book? Because it had been so long since I had thought about it. And I'm really interested in reading this book and seeing what it has to offer. Next is The Anchor Book of Modern African Stories, edited by Nadiza Obradovic, forward by Chinua Achebe. It says, the Anchor Book of Modern African Stories showcases the most innovative writing to arise from the continent. From internationally recognized authors such as Nigeria's Ben Okri to newcomer Leila Abu from Sudan. Together, the contributors offer compelling testimonies of life in the midst of historic upheaval. This is the second book that I've actually gotten about African stories recently. I'm interested in it. I, saw that other book, I picked it up. I saw this book, I picked it up. I don't know. Eventually I will read them. I like short stories. I need to broaden my horizons outside of the North America. And I thought this might be a good way to do it. Next is Crossing to Safety by Wallace Stegner. This talks about two couples who move between Vermont and Wisconsin, and that's kind of all I can get from the back here. I feel like I can't get a whole lot of what's going on in here. It's just like, oh, it's a beloved, cherished American novel. I'm like, right, okay. So is everything else from, the modern library class. You know what I mean? I feel like everything is like, oh, the quintessential novel. And I'm like, okay, but what's it about? So it says like, quiet majesty, deep compassion, and powerful insight into the alchemy of friendship and marriage. Next is Margaret Atwood, The Penelopiad. And this is actually about Penelope, wife of Odysseus, and how she was trying to kind of fend off suitors while Odysseus was away fighting the Trojan War, and about what happens when he finally returns. And I'm interested to see what Margaret Atwood writes about, or thinks about this. I've only ever read Margaret Atwood's sort of dystopian stuff. I've read The Handmaid's Tale, and then the Mad Adam series, which includes Oryx and Crake, but she has a lot of other novels that I feel that I want to check out. So I saw this and was like, oh, let's see what happens. Next is Welcome to St. Hell, My Trans Teen Misadventures by Lewis Hancox. This is a graphic novel about a gentleman who is trans and his struggles going through high school as, I believe, going through puberty as a girl. That's kind of what I gleaned from the cover and the back of it. I feel like with trans rights under attack and myself having a very surface level understanding of transgenderism and all that stuff, I thought that this would be a really cool, easy, accessible way to just learn more about someone who went through it. Next is The Prince and Other Writings by Niccolo Machiavelli. I have heard the term Machiavellian because I listened to Taylor Swift, and I don't really know what that means. Could I look it up? Sure. Or I could read the source material. The Prince is actually modern political theory, which I didn't realize. He defines human nature as inherently selfish. Machiavelli proposes that social conflict and violence are natural phenomena that help determine the ablest, most versatile form of government. I don't know if I'm going to agree with much in here, but I do think it's important to read views that you might not agree with to help strengthen your own worldviews. Next is Daniel Defoe, Moll Flanders. Definitely have heard the name Daniel Defoe. This is about a woman who has to make her own way in life in 1722. Next is The Ghost Map, the story of London's most terrifying epidemic and how it changed science, cities, and the modern world by Stephen Johnson. This is about the cholera outbreak of 1854 in London. And I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, oh yeah, look at this one. He's like, oh, it's about cholera. And I was like, how do you know that? I think that this will be really interesting, just a bit of history, learning about cholera and how it changed the modern world. And then the last book I have to share with you today is the Norton Anthology of American Literature, Volume D from 1914 to 1945. The Norton Anthology books, the first ones that I showed were the 9th editions. These are the 7th. This is the 7th edition. And I actually have what is it, B, C, and D, but I don't have A and E. I'm on the lookout. I'm gonna have a full set. They may not all be the same editions, but they all have the same stuff in it. They had volume D at the other thrift store that I had gone to, and I decided not to pick it up because I knew I had just recently picked it up. And it has the same stories in it, so I figured, you know, I was like, I don't need 2 copies of the same thing. So that's pretty cool. Some of the stories include Willa Cather's My Antonia, Susan Glassbill, Trifles, Ezra Pound, Hugh Sloan Malberley, T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, Ernest Hemingway, The Snows of Kilimanjaro. Just a little bind up. Yeah, that is everything that I have bought recently, that I have thrifted recently. I just need to stay out of thrift stores. That's the biggest thing, is I just need to stop going to Goodwill and Savers, and my problem would probably be solved. I don't need anything. It's so hard. I just need things to do that don't involve shopping. And like, speech has been great. You know, we've started practices, but sometimes when me and my boyfriend want to do something together, it's like, okay, what should we do? A lot of times it ends up being shopping. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.